Hello, everybody. Today's story is brought to you courtesy of Mr. Matthew Alexander. And I hope you enjoy it. If you do, consider subscribing to this channel because I am just going to keep on posting stories until you do. So this is The Tracks Beyond Vegas. Outside our makeshift moving house, this broken, splintery rail car, train tracks led forever forward, disappearing into a star-speckled cotton candy sky. Every morning, upon opening my eyes, a different variation of this scene unfolded. Sometimes the sky was orange, sometimes blue, other times it was black. But two things always remained unchanged. There were always stars sparkling above, and there were always tracks leading us nearer, but never close enough to our destination. I wish I could say it was a beautiful way to wake up, that every time I opened my eyes, God had painted this picture for me. But it wasn't beautiful. It was too cold to be beautiful. And I ain't talking the kind of cold that has you shivering and all. I mean the kind of cold you feel when you're surrounded by people, yet completely alone. At least I was alone with Billy. Billy knew how to make the cold all right. I rolled over, making a ruckus, so Billy knew I was up. He always woke up before me. But seeing as I'm a lighter sleeper, and since the train car makes these loud creaks wherever you move a smidge, Billy would lay stock still until I woke up. He turned and looked at me, his face all covered in dirt and scratches. "Hey, Rabbit," he said, a dark gleam in his eyes. "Do you think they built any more train stops after Vegas?" I looked at him funny. It sure was a weird way to say good morning. Well, I don't know. I'd imagine so. Why wouldn't they? He looked out the boxcar, his brow furrowed, jaw tight. Well, I just don't see why they'd build anything after Vegas. I mean, Vegas is where everyone wants to go. No one wants to go past there. And even if they did, one stop in Vegas and baby, you're sweet on her. Well, shucks, Billy, how the hell would I know if they built anything after? You know I ain't never seen Vegas. Boy, Billy sure was crazy about Vegas. Always had been so far as I remember. Billy and I grew up together in the same town, went to the same school, played in the same park, got in the same trouble. We were inseparable. And all the time, Billy was always talking about up and leaving, running off to Vegas so he could make it big as a singer. And boy, let me tell you, Billy could sing. Sometimes when I couldn't sleep at night, or if I was suddenly thrashing around talking about how I wish I was dead, Billy would sing to me, and you can bet that would calm me down. He had the voice of an angel, he really did. Billy sighed. There just can't be a thing past that. The tracks stop at Vegas, I just know it. We're gonna stop in Vegas and sneak off the boxcar like always, but this time the train, she'll just turn on around and come back the way we came, and then we'll be forced to stay there, 'cause there won't be nowhere to run to no more. And then you know what? What? Then we'll go steal some stuff, pawn it, gamble a bit, and once we get some money, I'll book a show in one of them small casinos, and some drunk, washed-up Hollywood star'll see me, and invite me to play a bigger casino. And there some non-washed-up Hollywood star's gonna hear me sing, and he's gonna take me straight to the top, and by God, Rabbit, you know what? Well, shucks, tell me. Boy, Billy sure could get you riled up. Everything he said was filled with such passion. I bet he could have talked a dead man out of the grave. I'm gonna take you with me. We're gonna be brothers, rich as marbles, famous too. Everyone who comes to Vegas is gonna want to hear good old Billy Starr sing, and they're all gonna want to be my best bud. Billy, come shoot some pool with us, they'll say, and I'll tell them, sorry, cats, but I already got a best buddy, my good brother, Rabbit. And you and me'll go off and drink the night away. Man, we'll be tough, real tough. By God, did that sound something wonderful. Yup, Billy sure had a way with words. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't worried. See, this wasn't just a dream for Billy. He thought he had some sort of premonition or something. That his becoming famous was definitely gonna happen. Like it needed to. Sometimes he'd look up at night and murmur to himself about how it was written in the stars. Billy let the thought linger for a moment, then rummaged through his rucksack, stomach rumbling. He stuck his head in, came out looking disappointed. "We need to go into town." "Already? But we were just in town at the last stop." I know," Billy massaged his temple. "We ate too much food on this stretch of track." "How's our budget looking?" "Tight." We gathered our things, me, my sign and jar, Billy, his guitar. Then we opened the door real slow. Billy peeked out, said we were clear. We wanted to avoid trouble. Conductors don't take kindly to train hoppers, even if they are gonna be famous one day. When we hopped out, we marked the door with a small white plus sign using some chalk, so we'd know which train car was ours. We were in West Virginia at the time. We missed the cold, dusted trees of the Appalachian Mountains. The train we were on was full of coal, save for the few storage containers filled with hay, one of which we occupied. Outside that boxcar, the morning sky bled blue through a fading orange film. Our jeans dirtied quick as we kicked up the coal-coated soil. We reached the end of the train, cut into the edge of the woods, followed that back towards the train station, and crept out onto an empty street. As we entered the town, we passed beneath a wooden post which read, "Clementine." We searched around for a busy corner, but the town was more a home to dust than people. Everything was dirty and rotting. Signs were rusted and faded from years of being battered by acid rain and the merciless sun. Structures of warped wood sat like splintering skeletons of once-were homes across the streets. The only cars in town were old and screamed loudly as they passed. They screamed for their youth. They screamed for their death. And the people, well, the people didn't walk, they just sort of floated around without acknowledging one another, this empty gaze in their charcoal eyes. Billy found us a nice corner, one without too much dust. We laid down an empty can of pears, our money jar. Scribbled in faded ink upon its face was a request: "Need money for food." Then Billy pulled out his guitar, tuned it, and started singing. I didn't sing 'cause I'm no good at singing, truth be told. Besides, I'm smaller and look much younger than 13, so while Billy sang, I'd just sit there and look pitiful. Billy said that's what got us all the money, sympathy. "Rabbit," Billy'd say, "ain't not one person in this world who can stand to see you frown. You got the saddest damn face I've ever seen." At the time I just laughed, because it was obvious that Billy's voice was what brought in the dough. But to be honest, I think maybe he was right. Only he had it mixed up a bit. It wasn't us that people sympathized, it was themselves. Billy's singing just helped them see that. So I sat there and frowned as Billy sang. "Ain't no room in this world for two, ain't no room in this world for you. Ain't no room on these trains, ain't no room in these planes, ain't no room in this world for two." In previous towns, people would walk up, toss some coins in our jar and stop, rooted to the spot as Billy howled. No matter how busy the person looked, if they had on a suit and held a briefcase, or if a lady's baby was crying, or if some kid was hurrying to go to the candy shop, it didn't matter. They would stand there and listen to the whole song. Even I, who had heard all his songs 20 times over, couldn't help but become hypnotized by him. Billy sang a melody of deep, cold, and dangerous passion. He bled out his lyrics, cried through his guitar. The people who would stand and listen cried too, but they cried out their eyes in tears, because they only thought they understood. Soon as Billy's song was over, those same people would dry their eyes, toss some change, and continue along with their lives, return home to their jobs and family, forget that they'd found themselves for that brief moment. But truth is, when you know that deep, real cold, you start crying in other ways, and the crying never stops. Clementine was different. The people here didn't stop to listen. Billy sang all day, and not one single person had spared any attention, let alone change. Eventually night came, and with it a cool breeze carried over the Appalachian from a place ancient and long past anything we could ever know. Night descended. Billy sang his last song, throat strained and trembling. A group of women rounded our corner and for a second stopped to look at us. There was something glimmering in their eyes, not tears, but an acknowledgement. They exchanged glances and continued forward, just gliding bodies caught in clouds of midnight smoke that kicked up and latched around their heels, past the broken street lights into a deep blackness that was all-consuming and real. After dumpster diving, we went back to the train. Billy had let me have the only can of tomatoes we'd found. He forced himself to eat the withering, discolored apples. I objected, but he said it was his fault we hadn't made money. He just wasn't good enough. He wouldn't hear anything about it. Billy, I've been thinking about what you asked. What was that? About the tracks beyond Vegas. You been thinking about that? Oh, geez. Ain't nothing to think about. I already told you. Ain't nothing past Vegas. I shuffled my feet, wrapped myself up in my sleeping bag. Well, I think maybe there is something past there. More tracks, you know? Billy just raised an eyebrow, frowned. See, I think there's a lot past it. I think the tracks go right on by, and eventually they lead back home, and even back to here. What are you on about? Billy seemed exasperated. I took a deep breath. Well, you know, I think they just make one big loop, a big circle, and they go round and round like that forever. And sure, you can get off at Vegas, or Clementine, or wherever really, but then you can always get back on and go somewhere else. They don't gotta lead to just one place. It don't make sense for them to just stop. Why are you saying this all of a sudden? Rabbit, I need you to believe me when I say they end there. We're in this together. It's you and me against the world. Real heroes, real stars. I didn't mean to ask you what I did this morning. I was asking you rhetorical-like. Billy sighed, shook his head and grabbed my shoulder. This is why you gotta leave the thinking to me. I'll let you think of something on your own for 5 seconds and you'll end up thinking yourself into an early grave. The rest of the night was silent. I laid. I closed my eyes. My stomach curled and whimpered. When I awoke, the boxcar smelled like a moldy cellar. Had it always been so suffocating in here? I crawled from my sleeping bag and opened the door. It was still early. Billy was sound asleep. Outside, the silhouette of a vast mountain range loomed above the trains and wasted plains of the earth. There were no stars in the sky, just clouds through which a shadow's marionette of filtered moonlight danced against train tracks, rolling forever forward into a deep blackness that was all-consuming and real. I hope you guys enjoyed that, because I really honestly did. That was good, wasn't it? Hop on along and tell Matthew that you loved it, because he really deserves this. And yeah, remember to subscribe and like and share. And be social. Thank you. Bye.